All right. So welcome to another coaching session. Today we're going to take a look at 30 big blinds multi-way. We're going to do small blind versus big blind versus button. We have done a lot of big blind stuff so far, but we haven't done any small blind stuff. So it should be pretty interesting to see what kind of thing happens and why it's happening. And so we're really going to be focusing on sort of the difference between study and training. If you've been to one of these sessions before, you've ever seen anything that I put out, there's a distinct difference between studying and training, and they're both important when it comes to learning about poker. But we're going to do some studying. We're going to try and work out what's going on, and then we're going to train and we're going to drill and see what we can, see what we've remembered, see what we've learned, see if we're getting it right straight away. And that feedback then that we're going to get is going to be really useful and guide the rest of our study and training and learning and stuff like that. All right. So we're going to choose. We're going to go straight in. Actually, we're going to choose a board. Let's choose an ace high connected. I'm going to choose this one here, Ace King Queen. So what we're going to do is take a look at what the small blind strategy looks like to begin with. And then if we need to, obviously I've got loads of boards to look at, but if we need to, we're going to go in and we'll see what happens when button bets as well, see what their strategy looks like there. So let's just click on small blind. And for anyone not familiar with this, the greeny color is check, the yellow color is a small bet, and the purple color is a jam. So you can see in the top right corner, we're not doing any jamming. We're doing a lot of small betting though. 84% of our range wants to small bet, and then 16% of it wants to check. Now, I'm going to guess that this is a little bit surprising for some of you. Maybe not. Maybe you already knew this. But I think maybe, potentially some newer players would look at this spot and check. And I can see John in the chat says, "Yeah, I just check range in this spot." So I think even some more experienced players might not be playing this spot like the solver is here. So yeah, just a ton of betting. The kind of hands that we don't really want to bet. 7-6 without any kind of draw. So flush draw, backdoor flush draw. You see 7-6 of clubs, 7-6 of hearts. Same thing happens with 8-7 and 9-8, and even with like 9-8 of diamonds doesn't want to bet either. But 7-6 of diamonds does. Same thing going on with 5-4, but actually 5-4 of clubs and hearts wants to bet, and then you just see a ton of betting from all of the other hands. So this is just like completely different from how I expect, as I said, many of you to think about this spot. So we got to try and work out, and this is the difference. This is why we're talking about earlier about study versus training. Studying is like, well, why is this going on? What can we learn? Let's work it out and try and see what exactly is happening here. So John says in the chat, I see we just have very condensed around Broadway cards range. Yeah, so a lot of King X, Queen X, especially the offsuit hands as well. We do have the nuts in Jack 10, but we're completely missing those really strong hands, which is usually the reason why the big blind, let's say it was button versus big blind, big blind is never going to find a lead on an ace, king, queen board. But this is the small blind, ranges are different. And there's something I'm going to show you now, which might help a little bit. So let me just pull up the right screen. So this is the buttons range. And as you can see, it's very, very wide. Yes, it's going to have some really, really strong hands. The best hands possible. It can have a straight, can have top set, middle set, bottom set. Lots of two pair, which the small blind is severely lacking in, right? Yeah, it can have a straight, but we'll see in a moment on this ace, king, queen board, not a lot of other really strong hands. So this is the buttons range. When they raise, we're looking at this calling range. And as you can see, so an ace, king, queen board, there's no king, queen, there's no ace, queen, there's no ace, king, there's no aces, kings, queens. So we can have some bottom pair with a draw. We can have a straight. We can have middle pair as well. And we can also have some top pair too. So buttons range is really wide. And then we've got this range, which is, condensed. Doesn't include the top hands. Does include some hands worse than the opener's range, but it also includes some hands that are better than the opener's range. So then small blind calls, and then big blind is going to call with these hands in green. The hands in white do something else, either fold, raise, or jam. So this is, so what's going on here is the buttons range is really wide, and the big blinds range is really wide, and the small blinds range is very condensed. The buttons range is linear. The big blinds range is actually very condensed as well, but includes loads more hands. Doesn't include the best hands, because those are going to 3-bet or 3-bet jam. All right. So we could take a look at this, which I've done. I've pulled all of these ranges, and you can do this from pre-flop. By the way, you can download the ranges. So this, if you click this button now, it will download all 4 strategies: fold, call, 3-bet, and jam. Or if you just click on one and you click this button here, you can just download the call frequency. And so that's what I've done, and I've put them into Power Equilab. And let's just make sure you guys can see this. So this is the button, the small blind, the big blind, and this is without a flop. We're just running the equities just to see what's going on. And apologies if you can hear my computer sound like it's about to take off, but obviously now that it's running this, computer's kicked into life. So you can kind of see that overall, the button has the slight advantage here, but it's really, really close. So button has all of those strong hands. Small blind's missing those strong hands, but a much stronger range in the first place, and the big blind has got loads of hands. So, on average, they're going to be, at an equity disadvantage. But it's really, really close. I just want to highlight that again. It's really close between the button and the small blind. So if I just put in the board, which was Ace, King, Queen. 1 second. Let's just see in the chat. So what do we think? Based on these ranges, who's going to have the equity advantage on this Ace, King, Queen board? What do you guys reckon? The small blind, big blind, or the button? Just let me know in the chat. Okay, small blind. Yeah, small blind probably like 40%. Right, so let's run it and have a look. So at the moment, I mean, this has got to run for, billions of games. But at the moment on this board, the small blind's really standing out. Look at that, 48% versus 37% for the button, and the big blind just completely, just has so much trash that way behind. So small blind's actually in the lead here, and I think this is something that you are going to see a lot of once you got to split the equity 3 ways. Now, of course, the small blind has the worst possible position, so it's obviously not just about raw equity. It is about being able to realize that equity as well. Now, that's not something that Power Equilab can do. You can do equity realization within it, but you would need the exact spot run in a 3-way solver, and then to take the equity realization numbers and feed that into here, which we are not going to do today. So yeah, we'll have we'll bring this back in later on, but I just wanted to sort of highlight that. I think it's something that is potentially different from maybe what you were thinking, or maybe you've just not done an equity calc before looking at the 3 ranges on different boards. And like I say, it's not just about raw equity, of course it isn't, but it'll give it's a good start, it's a good kicking off point, I think. So yeah, I think we're just going to do a lot of betting. Most of these hands look like mixes, but mainly betting with a bit of checking, and then the ones that stood out are these suited connectors. Before we get into that, let's do a little bit more study. So if we are betting so frequently, let's take a look at the big blind strategy. So if we're bluffing here, we can start generating folds from hands as strong as King X and Queen X from the big blind. The big blind's obviously just going to continue with flush draws, but can't continue with backdoor flush draws. So you can see that in here, literally just going to continue with flush draws. And yeah, the Queen X with a flush draw, obviously. All of these other ones are flush draws, and then the King X is King X with a backdoor flush draw, so King X of diamonds, as you can see, bottom right, hopefully you can see that. So other hands that continue is going to be pair plus draw, so like King Jack or Queen Jack or Queen 10. Ace X is never going to fold, and then you've got some Queen X with a backdoor flush draw, but it has to be the Queen of Spades. kind of similar to like King 9 of diamonds. So a pair and a backdoor flush draw. And then I think that's pretty much it. There's some King X with a flush draw, sorry, backdoor flush draw as well. Even King 7 off with the 7 of spades actually starts folding. And so yeah, that's what's going on. John the Greek, where is Jack 10 in big blinds range? I'll just show you really quickly. We'll go back and look at the pre-flop strategy for the big blind. Jack 10, whoops. Jack 10 off 3 bets and Jack 10 suited jams. Yep. Okay, so let's just say that a big blind now folds, and you can see that, let's say again that we're bluffing. These, we can get the button to fold these pairs. We get them to fold some Queen X, it's like 8X. It's kind of key here because it really stands out. But if you think about the kind of hands that we have, I think it's Ace 8 and King 8, right? So Queen 8 calling and then improving to 2 pair loses a lot when it gets called. So yeah, that's kind of exactly what's going on here. You can kind of see it, but we don't want to spend too long going through this. But I just wanted to, yeah, sort of highlight that. All right. So that's sort of like a quick look. Let's have a go at quickly drilling this, and then we can move on. So the key thing here, the potential mistakes that we could make is leading some of those suited connectors without the flush draw or the backdoor flush draw. And there was one, I can't even remember what it was, 7-8, 8-7 of diamonds that didn't even bet, right? So that's where we've got to think about it, right? But most of this is going to be just a very high frequency bet and then checking the rest. Some easy starts. But yeah, a lot of these are just very frequently bet. I really want to get to those suited hands. That was an example of the 8x, King 8 hand. But yeah, still leading all of these at very high frequency, and then some checking as well. But as I said, we're keeping an eye out for those suited connectors. And we might not get there. Okay, so Jack 8 of hearts. Interesting. I can't remember the Jack X hands. I can remember the suited connectors. Anyone else in the chat remember, or did we even look at what happens when we have a gut shot? Are these kind of hands that we want to bet? Or are we better off betting like Jack 8 of spades, Jack 8 of diamonds, blocking continues, having more equity when called, stuff like that? What do you guys think in the chat? Checking this one. I mean, thankfully, I don't think we're going to make a mistake if we click check, because if there is some, like, lots of betting, it's still going to check a little bit of the time anyway. But yeah, I don't think we actually looked at the Jack X. Jack X is obviously pretty interesting, having the gut shot as well, and being able to generate folds from better hands, right? We can get some King X without a backdoor flush draw to fold. We can get some Queen X without a backdoor flush draw to fold. Okay. Interesting. So I said it wouldn't be a mistake, but actually it is. Look, we should be betting 98% of the time with this. Let's explore this once again. So Jack 8, you can see just really high frequency betting here. Same with 10x. So it was these low suited connectors 9, 8, 8, 7, 7, 6, 5, 4, and 6, 5 as well. But yeah, I mean, if we default to just betting here, then we're not going to go too far wrong. Okay, we got one of these suited connectors that without the flush draw or the backdoor flush draw. So I think this is pure check this time. So it's good to get that one right. A lot of Jack 10. Okay, so I think 7-6. I can't remember if this was the one where we could actually do some leading. There was definitely a suited connector where we couldn't, and this is exactly the one that wants to pure bet. Let's hover over it. So yeah, 7-6 of diamonds, 7-6 of spades wants to bet. The 8-7s mixing, and the 9-8 of diamonds is the one that doesn't do any betting, just wants to pure check. All right, so that's the first look at this. Let's just check around and see what the button's supposed to do. So buttons mainly, like when they do bet, they're mainly supposed to use a small size. we'll have a look at it, but I don't think it's going to be that useful to see what happens facing small bet after we've checked, because we do so much betting. We want to make sure that we do actually have some hands to continue when we check, but you can see it was like whatever it was, 15-20% of the time. So yeah, let's see what's going on. It does become more challenging to study because you can't see what's going on because there are fewer hands in the box, right? So you can see, for example, King 9. Well, we'd normally just lead that. So if we're not doing that, then it's there's not as much left. So instead, I've just changed it to relative, and you can do this with all the DTO products, I believe, where you can just see. It's just easier to visualize. You're not going to have all of these hands at full frequency like this suggests. It's basically just, if you do have this hand, this is what the strategy would look like. When you set it to absolute, that's the exact number of sort of a visual representation of how frequently you would have that hand if you'd played it as a check to begin with. So you can see basically we just want to continue with any piece of the board and fold without. So this should be pretty straightforward to drill. So we don't have any piece here and piece. Well, is it just going to stay on the same hand? We have a backdoor flush draw here, but I think we just fold and we fold this hand. I mean, it should be a lot of the hands that we're choosing to check, right? So, it's quite a nice way to reinforce that. These are hands that we've checked at high frequency. So, of course, they're the ones that are going to pop up. But we might have some occasionally. Let's see if we get there. Maybe we don't. But basically just doing a lot of folding and continuing if we do have an ace, king, queen, 10, jack, or flush draw. But it doesn't look like we're going to get there. So let's end that there. Let's move on to the next flop. Ace-King-Deuce. Ace and not connected. And let's do suited. Ace-King-Deuce. Which one? We'll do this one. All right, so let's just start with the Equilab, like we did before, and to see where we're at. So a bit small blind ahead, but it's a lot closer this time, right? A lot closer. Big blind has a little bit more as well. So this I would imagine this is going to lead us to wanting to check a little bit more frequently, but not to say that there won't be any betting. I don't think it's going to be pure check. So let's take a look. Okay, so only betting about 30% of the time now, and doing a huge amount of checking. Let's take a look first at some top pair type hands. So just mixing with those. Let's change it to absolute because we don't have aces too often. When we get to King X hands, again, just doing mainly checking. We've got some gut shots in here as well that are doing some mixing, so you can bet, can check. So we've got, Ace X and King X hands in here. Just taking a quick look at the suits. Looks like clubs and hearts want to bet more frequently. Ace 8 of diamonds, pretty comfortable continue if you check, right? And face a bet, you've got top pair and a flush draw. And again, kind of just finding the bluffs with flush draws and backdoor flush draws. And then once we get to 5-4, 5-4 is a gut shot now, so it's also a draw. All right. So basically just a lot of checking. If you default to check in this spot, you're then going to get an option to bet as well, right? So most of these hands are going to be high frequency check, but then we do some betting at some frequency as well. So this is probably a good example of where drilling isn't going to be that useful, because you could just hit check and then you're always going to get it right. There weren't any hands that were pure bet in this situation, whereas there were the other one, like Jack 8 of hearts, right, on the Ace King Queen board was betting 98%, something like that. So generally speaking, we can mix all of these hands. That would look like it was a pure check. I didn't even see what the hand was, and that's the danger of this method. All right, so that's just an aside. Let's see what button's supposed to do. So more frequently this time, button's supposed to use a big bet. We're missing a lot of ace X. I think it's just ace 8 is the best ace that we can have, whereas the button has all the better ones, right? The big blind's going to miss all of the ace X as well. So, or a lot of them. Let's take a look at that. Yeah, so the big blind has Ace-6 and Ace-Deuce off. That's it. And we have, let's go back, Ace-8 and Ace-9 off. Ace-8 suited, Ace-9 off as the best Ace-X hands. So when it comes to looking at this strategy, you can see that it wants to put a lot of money in with the Ace-X hands. So we want to know how we're going to respond to that. So yeah, I would say this is a pretty big bet for this SPR, but this is what we're working with. So let's now have a look at the strategies. So we're not going to fold an ace. Ace-9, let's have a look in here. So there is some jamming going on with Ace-9. Suits-wise, either it's like have the spade or don't have the ace of diamonds, basically. If you have the ace of diamonds, just call. If you have a diamond, just call. If you have a spade, yeah, or basically just don't have a diamond in your hand, you can do some jamming. All right. So that's the Ace-X. King-X, we don't want to fold King-Jack or King-10, that's too strong. King-9, we do start seeing some folding from King-X without a backdoor flush draw. We get to Queen-9, we're just going to continue with the flush draw. King-8's the same as King-9. King-6 is the same. So doing a lot more folding without the suits. We are facing a big bet, so I think this makes a lot of sense. And we also don't close the action. Or having said that, big blind's not going to have too many strong hands on this board because they are 3-bet jamming or 3-betting Ace-X hands to begin with. Right, let's have a go. Let's see how we do. So we're going to start seeing some folds here. So you can see a lot of folding. I don't think we get to continue this. Pure fold. Be interesting to see Queen-Jack off with a diamond. This is going to be the same sort of class of hand. King-X with a backdoor flush draw. I think we always want to continue. Same one with this one. Yeah, so Queen-10 off. Let me throw it over to you guys. What do you think? Fold or call? Okay, let's take a quick look with the Queen-10 off. So you can see pretty much there's some calling Queen of Diamonds, 10 of Spades, so having both suits on the board. Let's see the opposite. Queen of Spades, 10 of Diamonds also does some calling, but really we're just doing a lot of folding. Queen-10 off with a backdoor flush draw, doing some calling. So yeah, Queen of Diamonds X, basically doing a lot of continuing. Okay, King-6, we're going to continue. Really easy fold now. Calling Ace-8, I'm going to fold here. Folds. With the diamond was continuing sometimes, right? But most of the time folding. King-8 with the back door is going to start folding more frequently. There's a bit of calling in there. Same with this. I'm going to mix. And these, really easy fold when we don't have anything. And mixing again. Mixing again. Mixing again. Definitely going to continue here. Queen to again, fold and call. And let's do this as the last one. I'm going to fold. All right. So again, pretty straightforward. Once you do check, continue with hands that, certainly facing the big bet with hands with good equity or, backdoor draws. Don't fold an ace. Don't fold a king with a backdoor flush draw. Don't fold your best kings, King Jack and King 10. And don't fold your flush draws, I guess. And if you do have a gut shot, you're going to need to have a diamond to go with it most of the time. Right, let's move on. Okay, let's take a look at an Ace-Six-Deuce board now. Ace unconnected. Scroll down here. So Ace-Six-Deuce board. Let's start with this comparison again to see if we can guess what it's going to look like before we see it. So it's a rainbow board. And this time, button is way out in front. This will change a little bit, but generally, button's got the advantage, then small blind, and then big blind. All right. So let's see how that translates. So, yeah, pretty interesting that there is still some leading, and I think this is, on first glance, this is for me, looking like, okay, what's going on here? This is a little bit more challenging to work out. We've got some, of the lower cards like 7, 6, 8, 7, 9, 8 that could sort of wrapped around that 6. That could be, betting with a backdoor flush draw, but then you hover over it and you see 9, 8 of hearts in there. Now, certainly when we lead here, we can get big blind to start folding some better hands, and the button's going to start folding some better hands. So we definitely want to explore that a little bit before we carry on. We are betting some Ace-X hands here, but also betting some King-X. So for example, so this time King 9 with the backdoor flush draw is betting, and King 9 of hearts without the backdoor isn't. So when we do bet here, is the button going to continue with weaker hands than ours? I mean, of course they're going to continue with better hands, but do they also continue with weaker hands? Can we get them to fold some better hands as well? So thinking of sort of those sorts of ideas, you could find that we bet a hand like King 9 of diamonds, and a hand like Jack 10 of diamonds or Jack 10 of clubs or Jack 10 of spades is going to continue. So it could, we could think along those lines, but that's what I'm thinking. Yanis in the chat is saying Jack 8 as well. Yep. So, I mean, we're going to block continues too. You can see it's important to have a high card with a backdoor flush draw. Those are the kind of hands that are going to continue in the buttons. The wide hands that will continue in the buttons range. So, big blind, we do start to get them to fold some better hands. They can't continue with these broadways. They can't even continue with the backdoor flush draw, not closing the action. They can continue with an ace and a 6 and a deuce, but we do start to see some folds, for example, like without the backdoor flush draw. So King 2 of hearts, 5 2 of hearts, 4 2 of hearts, 3 2. We've got some gut shots in here, start folding, and some weaker 2x hands here are going to fold, not closing the action. So we can generate some folds from better hands very, very, very clearly. And then I mentioned about betting King 9 of diamonds. Do we get called by Queen 10 of clubs? And you can see that the answer is yes. So you can, just if you look bottom, no, that's that way. Bottom right, it's the opposite way for me in the camera. You can see that we are going to get some value from those hands whilst blocking some hands, better hands, like King 9 of, King Queen of diamonds. For example, King Jack, King 10, those kind of hands. When we bet a hand like Jack 8, we are generating folds from some slightly better offsuit hands. And we're going to get called, I think, by some some weaker hands. Guys, can you just let me know if the stream is okay? I just got a warning message on here saying that it was encoder overload, which I haven't seen since I had a really old PC. So just let me know if it's okay. Looks fine. Thanks, Jan Dellis. Appreciate that. Only bets the nuts. Everything seems to be fine with the stream on mind. Okay, awesome. Okay, hopefully it was just a quick error that's we've passed by. Okay, yeah. So betting the Jack 8 with the backdoor flush draw, blocking some better continues, and also getting value from some weaker hands. So like an 8-7 with a backdoor flush draw. Yeah. Pretty interesting. You can see that versus the small bet, the button's not going to fold very much. But also, I guess we want to make sure that we have a wide variety of bluffs on future streets. We don't just have the backdoor flush draws, which is why we sometimes bet with where is it? It's like 7-6 of hearts. No, that's a pair. Bad example. 8-7 of hearts, as you can see in here. Right, we're going to attempt to drill this. I think this is the one, with the least amount of betting so far, and we might find that we mess things up. But the easy approach here would just be to check everything, right? And say, oh yeah, well, the rest of it's going to be a small bet. But I think we could go one step further and be brave and start betting some of these hands. But a lot of these hands are going to be mixes between check and small bet. With hearts, I don't actually remember, so okay, well, it's actually betting very, very frequently. So I think this is a really interesting one because we don't block continues in the sense of as in they're going to continue with spades, diamonds, and clubs. But if we flip that on its head, then are we actually betting for value? We can certainly get the big blind to fold some better hands. But the button's going to continue. Remember, the button's range is really wide. They're not going to fold very frequently. It was about 20% versus this small bet. They're going to continue with all of those weaker spade, diamond, and club hands, right? We're betting some of these, and so yeah, checking a bit more frequently. King 10, even King 10 is betting sometimes, as is King 6. I want to check this one. Okay, cool. Happy with that. Lots of checking with the Jack 10. King 8, I want to check as well. No backdoor flush draw. We can mix, I think, with Ace 8. And again, we're getting to hands now that we know what to do with. Just lots of mixing. But recognizing those hands that we are supposed to do a lot of checking with, like Jack 10. All right, let's try and get to 25. Okay, even a tiny little bit betting with Queen Jack off as well. I can't see any betting with this hand, given that we don't have any suits on the board. Excellent. Do some mixing again with Ace 5. I think we saw that King 10 does actually bet sometimes too. And this one definitely bets. And this one mixes. All right, 25 out of 25. Not too bad. I'm going to pause it there for a moment, guys. Do you guys have any questions so far on what we've looked at? We've so far done 3 different boards. Ace, King, Queen, where there was a lot of betting from the small blind. ABX, where there's less betting. So an Ace, King, Deuce flush draw board. And then suddenly an Ace-Six-Deuce rainbow board where there was less betting, but perhaps more challenging to find the bets. Although rainbow board start with backdoor flush draw hands. So yeah, let me know if you've got any questions. If not, we can move on to the next board, which is going to be a Queen Jack 10 board, which I think is going to be interesting given that neither we nor the big blind can have the nuts. All right, let's dive into that then. And we will use our trusty Equilab to do this. And let's see what happens. So Yannis says, why can't we have nuts on this board, this Queen Jack 10 board? Well, that's because neither small blind or big blind will play Ace King in this way, and we're also going to be missing the sets too. We can have King 9, so maybe you're thinking about that, and King 9 is obviously a hand we can stack off with, and 9-8, absolutely, but that's not the nuts. The nuts on this board is going to be Ace King, so that's why I said that neither us nor the big blind can have the nuts. But yeah, you're right. King 9 and 9-8 are definitely in there for us. All right. Exactly, yeah, but it's not the nuts. It's a very strong hand and one that you can stack off with, but I wouldn't class it. Well, yeah, it isn't the nuts because Ace King's the nuts, and there's only one player who can have the nuts, and that's the button. All right, so looks like we've got a slight edge here. We saw before when we didn't have the edge, where button had the slight edge, that we still do want to do some betting, but it looks like we've got a reasonable edge here, few percent, certainly in the lead, and yeah, we're missing the very strongest hands. Sorry, the very strongest hand. But we're not, as Yannis highlighted, we've got 9-8 and King 9. Right, so let's see what's going on. Okay, so far, we've seen that a big, well, I say big, it's never going to be huge, the equity advantage, but, relatively, like a bigger equity advantage. If we have any kind of equity advantage, we've seen that we do quite a lot of betting. We do have some really strong hands here, like King 9 and 9-8, as we mentioned. But we also have some 2-pair, Queen Jack, Queen 10, Jack 10. We can also have a pair plus draw like King Jack or King 10 or Queen 9. And it looks like we're also doing some betting with some draws like Ace 9, Ace 8. So I think if there's one thing we've seen so far, it's that equity idea. And sort of understanding how when you run it for three ways, the small blind can actually still have an advantage and does seem to want to bet very frequently. Now, we're going to look at a lot of different boards. In a way, it would be good to see that this isn't true, right? To see something go against that, to see an anomaly. But yeah, we'll see how we do as we continue through here. So let's hover over and have a look at some of this. Yanis on in the chat says Jack 8 loving life in all boards. Yeah, seems it, right? Seems it so far on the boards that we've looked at. But yeah, just very frequently betting. Right, let's just hover over Ace-7 because there's actually, I wonder if it's going to be easier to see, to visualize. I think so. As soon as we make it relative, you can see that when we don't have a diamond, we just want to check. And I imagine the same is true with Ace-5 off. Yep. But not true with Ace-8 and Ace-9. Both with double gut shots, I want to say. Certainly Ace-8. Okay, so that's good to see. Queen-Jack. Queen-Jack is just going to check. I'm trying to remember that one. 8-7 without the flush draw, 7-6. Yeah. So all of these need to have the diamonds to lead. So basically, if we have a suited hand that isn't connected to the board, we only want to bet when we have a flush draw. We only want to bet Ace-7 and Ace-5 as a bluff when we can actually block some continues. So having a diamond in our hand is important. Ace-9 and Ace-8 can bet all the time. Queen-Jack off wants to bet. Basically just bet all the other hands apart from Queen-Jack that's a pure check. Cool. Right. I think I've got it. I think I can do this. He says, then immediately get in a hand. I've got absolutely no idea. Let's quickly circle back. Okay, yeah. So any of the hands, these suited hands down here, they're mainly going to be checks. Queen-Jack and these, and Ace-7, Ace-5 without a diamond. Those are the hands to look out for when we drill. So Ace-8 with a diamond was betting very frequently. Queen-Jack off was betting. It's the Queen-Jack of hearts and clubs that was going to go for a check. I think this hand bets very frequently as well. Jack-8, as Yanis said, is loving life on all boards. Probably does a lot of betting. 9-8 is a straight. Actually does more checking than I thought. Top pair, straight draw, and a flush draw. A lot of betting going on here. We've already seen King 10 wants to bet very frequently. 2 pair, betting very frequently. Ace-8 off. So let's see who can remember what I said. Ace-8 off without a diamond. Do we check, bet? Check or bet? I don't think I saw any jams in there, which makes sense given that we can't have the absolute nuts. What do we reckon, guys? Is this a bet or a check? Okay. Yeah. So I think it's a check. I think we needed a diamond. Although, hang on, it was the Ace-9 and Ace-8, wasn't it? No, you were right. So Ace-9 and Ace-8. No, you're absolutely right. I think this is a bet, and it was Ace-7 and Ace-5 off with without the diamond. That wanted to check. Yeah. So well done on that. I think we're going to mix this hand as well. Ace-8, as we saw, was betting sometimes. So Ace-7 off without the diamond. That's the one that we check, pure check. Queen 10, we bet. We're also looking for the, what was I going to say? The Queen Jack suited. But it doesn't look like we're going to see that just yet. Okay, we'll do 5 more. Ace-9 off, that was doing some betting, yep, for sure. So Ace-7 and Ace-5 that wasn't. This hand, okay, so this hand, if we had 7-6 of diamonds, I would bet, but here we're just going to go for a check. King 8, we can bet. Okay, so 25, pretty happy with that. As with all of these guys, you can do exactly the same on DTO 3-way, which I think is awesome. I don't know of any other app just like this one, where you can drill, well, you can study and then you can train in the same session. So just awesome. Right, let's go back here. Let's see. One thing I'd realised is I don't think we've looked at what to do facing a bet on all of the boards so far, but we do have lots of boards to get through, and I think key focus is on when we actually do want to find some leads. So button's going to use a small bet if they do choose to bet. Let's now have a look at the strategy. Remember, this is all relative. This is on relative rather than absolute, just so we can visualize what's going on. So we continue with these suited hands with a flush draw. We're not going to have those very often because we are going to be leading them. But when we don't have the flush draw, we're just going to fold. We get to continue 9x and 8x, but again, remember that we're going to be leading these hands very frequently. So basically, just don't fold a piece. We can raise the strongest hands. And remember, we had that Queen Jack suited in there to go for a check raise. So I would imagine Queen Jack will start jumping out a little bit more frequently now because we have it as a bigger proportion of our range because it's the kind of hand that we pure check. All right, let's give it a go and let's see if where we might make some mistakes. So just folding. Ace-8 and Ace-9, weren't they continuing? I can't remember what the other bit was. Okay, so you can actually start folding the Ace-8 of clubs. The really easy fold with 7-6. I imagine this is the same as the Ace-8 of clubs. This is always going to be a fold and another fold and another fold. Mixing again, folding. Really want to see this Queen Jack. But we might not have any. Like you can see how interesting it is that the same hands are popping up all the time because again we've checked these more frequently and they're going to form a bigger proportion of our range. 9-8 we raised a lot, I think. Yep, and raise again, mixing again, and folding, mixing. Just going to fold. We need 7-6 of diamonds to be able to continue. Again, we can't continue with this hand, and we can't continue it if we get it again. All right, so I think pretty straightforward. If you guys have any questions, fire them in now. Otherwise, I'm going to move on to the next board. It's going to be a 2 Broadway board, so kind of similar to this. Rather than Queen Jack 10, we're going to have Queen Jack 5. I'm going to do this one. All right, so this time Button's got the slight advantage. Yana says, is there ever a jam from the small blind in any board? I don't want to spoil the rest of the session. But let's hold that question. Hold that question. Okay. So yeah, Button's slightly ahead here, but we saw that when it ran close, the small blind was still going to be having some bets. It's just when they have the advantage, they seem to want to do more bets or more betting. But let's have a look. Oh, Yanis, what did you just ask? Is there ever a jam from the small blind in any board with 30 big blinds? And here we go. 8% of our range wants to jam. Now, again, this is relative. We don't have aces. We have aces like 2% of the time or something. So if I do this, you can see that the main hands are King 10, Queen 10, and Ace 5. I'll just do this again to kind of discount aces. But yeah, King 10 off with a spade. Queen 10, doesn't really matter what the suits are. And then Ace 5 off with a spade does some jamming. So interestingly, yeah, Queen 10 is going to get called by weaker Queen X. So it's jamming for value. King 10 can get better hands to start folding, as can Ace 5 off. I mean, let's have a look at this. So if you're jamming a hand like Ace 5 off, you can get the big blind to start. Well, the big blind folds all Jack X hands. Calls with some worse hands like draws, although 2 overs and a straight draw is quite a lot of equity. And then what else is going on? Some Queen X starts folding as well. So you're getting some really strong hands to start folding. If the big blind folds, then the button's never going to fold a queen, but they are going to fold a lot of Jack X unless it's Jack X. Well, Jack 9 with a backdoor flush draw. Jack 5 is 2 pair. But yeah, a huge amount huge number of Jack X hands are going to start folding as well. Which, when you've got Queen 10, you don't want to happen. But then if you jam Queen 10, you're going to get called by all the weaker Queen X hands and some weaker Jack X and some 5X of spade hands. And also if you jam, like we'll go back to the King 10 now, let's just use that as an example. You can get some better hands to fold, as we've already mentioned, some Jack X and some 5X, and Queen X is never going to fold. But you can also, I mean, yeah, look, ace jack even folds in this situation. But then if you look under the jack, you've got all these pairs between the jacks and the fives that you can get to fold too. So logically, I think it makes sense. You can look at every part of the jamming range and say, right, this is its function. What's it actually trying to achieve with a jam? And I think that kind of thought process is really important in poker. I would say that it's more important, or not more important. It's when you see it most is in ICM situations when you're trying to work out logically why jamming ace-2 off is better than jamming ace-10, for example. So, you know, when you could get better ace-x hands to fold, you unblock raise folds, whereas with the ace-10, maybe they don't ever fold ace-jack, so what are you trying to actually achieve? And they don't call with ace-9, they don't call with worse hands. And your 10 blocks a lot of hands that just raise fold, right? So those kind of ideas is something I would, logical ideas, thinking things through, thinking about what you're actually trying to achieve is really, really useful, and you can do that within DTO 3-way, like we've just demonstrated. Okay. So yeah, shout out to Yanis for asking the question. Right on time as well when we got to the first board that actually has some jamming. But overall, we are doing quite a lot of checking. What was the deal with this? So we were slightly behind, right? The button was slightly ahead. And again, common trend we've seen if we do some, we are going to do some betting, what, 28%-ish. But we're also going to just do a huge amount of checking. I think this time I'm not going to dive too deeply into it. I want to just have a go and get some stuff wrong and learn from that. So Queen 10, King 10 and Ace 5 off, right, were the ones. So a bit of everything for Queen 10. King 10 off with a spade. I'm pretty sure we did a lot of jamming in that sense. And all options available. Queen 10, I guess all options are available. King Jack of diamonds, I don't remember there being any bets. Okay, yeah, so it's very frequently checked. 7-6, I'm not entirely sure. I mean, we're wrapped around the 5. We have a backdoor flush draw. Let's see. Okay, but it is just pure check. King 6, 3 to a straight, King Queen Jack, and also a backdoor flush draw. Also wants to check. We remember King 10 with a spade wants to do a lot of jamming, but all other options are available. Queen 9, mixture of check and small bet. Ace 8 off. Yeah, it's very frequently checked. King 10, I think there's less. Well, I don't think there was any jamming, actually. So maybe we do check and small bet. Okay, there's a tiny bit, 7% jamming. I'm going to check with the 7-6. Let's keep going through. Jack 10, high frequency check. Some betting. 9-8, very high frequency check. I think we see check and small bet with King 8. Another spade, so we can do all 3 options, but very high frequency jam. King 9, I'm going to go for check. Okay, there's some small betting in there as well. Ace 5 off. Can't remember what to do, guys. What do we do? Let me know in the chat. What do we do with Ace 5 off with the Ace of Spades? Can't remember. All in. Right, let's have a go. Yeah, so very frequently all in. I actually made a mistake here by clicking the small bet button. But yeah, we're mainly going for an all in. There is some checking as well. But I think we've got this. Was there some jamming? Yeah, with Queen 10 off. So it's Queen 10 off, King 10 off, and Ace 5 off. This was mixing. So yeah, let's do a couple more. And that's it. So 24 out of 25, we got a mistake with the small betting with Ace 5 off. It's just either check or jam. Okay, so we do quite a lot of checking, as you can see. And I want to see what happens when the button bets. So they are going to use the small size if they are going to bet. And let's take a look at our strategy. Let's switch it to relative just for the time being. So again, we actually have some jamming here with, let's have a look, 5-4, which is the flush draw, 6-5, which is a flush draw. 9-8 flush draw. Queen 9 top pair without the backdoor flush draw. So Queen 9 of hearts and clubs. King 10 off with a spade. You know, mixing between call and jam. Queen 10 just jamming very frequently. It's our best. Is that our best top pair? We'll have a look at that in a moment. Best top pair. Let's have a look. Yeah. So Queen Jack's 2 pair, but best top pairs looks like Queen 10 and Queen 9. Just getting it in there. The button's got a ton of Queen X to be able to call us all of these suited queens down here. So Queen 10, Queen 9 end up being very, very strong. Not to mention, the button can call with other hands. We'll have a look at that in a moment. Ace-5 off is now, so yeah, it's a call rather than a check, Yanis. So Yanis just said Ace-5 and it's now pure check, but it's actually, yeah, the button's bet. So we're pure calling with Ace-5 off, but we don't have it very often because we lead it very frequently. What I wanted to just see was, let's say we jam with Queen 10, big blind folds. Yeah, so the button's going to call with all of the weaker Queen X hands, as you can see. They start folding the Jack X hands, but there's some draws in here, like combo draws, and other flush draws that will continue. And the nut flush draw as well is going to continue, including a hand like Ace-10 and Ace-King, which is 2 overs and, well, at least 1 over and a gut shot, but 2 in the case of Ace-King. Right, let's go back here then. So let's just see what kind of things happen. I'm trying to think of where we find the jams. I think we're just looking for a piece of the board, right? So if we have a draw, we get to continue. I'm going to call with Jack 10. We don't have any piece here, so we're going to fold. Call with Jack 10, no piece. Continue with spades. We're going to call with Jack 10 off. We have a backdoor flush draw here, but I think it's too weak. This hand's not good enough. Even with the gut shot here, 9-8, just going to fold. Think about what happens on a 10. Think about who has loads of Ace-King and what happens on that board, on that card. But also, we don't close the action. Gut shot with a backdoor flush draw. I don't want to fold that. Ace-8, probably call and jam or raise. Okay, it was mainly jamming, calling and jamming with Ace-8. Mainly calling King 10. I think we do some jamming with King 10 off with a spade. This hand just wants to fold. I'm going to fold this one as well. Don't want to fold a piece of the board. Queen 9 was calling and jamming, I believe, because remember all of those Queen 8, Queen 7, Queen 6, Queen 4, Queen 3, Queen 2-ish was continuing. So, yeah, all options are available. Just don't fold. Same with King 10. I think this is where we did see some jams because we had the spade, so we just block some continues with hands that are way better than ours, like Ace-10 of spades. Just going to fold here. Going to treat this as a call without the spade. Really easy fold, really easy fold. Without the spade, just call. Without the spade, just call. Going to fold here, fold. And let's do one more. Remember, 9-8 doesn't want to continue here. Let's just have a look at 9-8 of diamonds. Yeah, so 9-8 of diamonds would continue with the backdoor flush draw. Okay. All right, so again, if there aren't any questions, we'll move on. We'll take a look. Let's see how we're doing for time. I do want to take a look at some more interesting, well, so some boards that that are completely different from what we've looked at so far. So let's scroll down here and take a look at this 7-6-Deuce board and put it in here. Right. So 7-6-Deuce, the button's now ahead slightly, but then the big blind, and then we're in third place, which is not anything we've seen so far. So where the high card boards, whether it was like ABB or ABX, Ace-XX, 3 Broadways, 2 Broadways, very much because we've got a high concentration of those kind of hands, Broadway hands, or hands with a Broadway card in it, our equity was much, much better. Whereas in this example, we're missing a lot of low cards, right? But the big blind isn't. And then the button's just got a stronger range to begin with. So that's kind of what we're looking at here. So if we've got the worst equity, normally if we had really bad equity, it's not just, okay, let me just reiterate this. If you've just joined the stream, it's not obviously we're not just looking at equities. We've got to think about, you know, the ability to realize that equity as well, obviously being out of position, the worst possible position. But so far we've seen a really common trend where if we have more equity than everybody else, we do quite a lot of betting. If we have less equity than the button but more than the big blind, we do some betting. And then this example where we have the worst equity of the lot, and does that mean that we don't do any betting whatsoever? Let's have a look. Yes would be the answer to that question. So yeah, we just really don't really have too much on this board. I mean, we have 7-6. We do have 2 pair, and again this is relative, so that we don't have all of these hands at full frequency. But we just have, because of how good those boards were that had like an ace, king, queen, jack, a 10 in them, when we've got queen, jack, king 10, queen 10, jack 10, queen, jack, king, jack suited, king 9 suited, queen 9 suited, all those kind of hands, we're now suddenly missing, you know, those hands are up here and we've got a low board basically. So our equity is not great, and we start with a check. Big blind, on the other hand, suddenly gets to do a lot of leading, which is interesting. Maybe we can look at that. We'll look at big blind calls and button folds, or maybe big blind calls, button bets. But I do think it's interesting to look at the sandwich, being the sandwich player, so letting the button go for the bet, because certainly there was a misconception in our first stream that we did that the sandwich player was never allowed to raise, right? So if it was cut off, if the sandwich player was never allowed to raise if the original raiser was the person who was, you know, next to act. So if it had gone cut off opens, button calls, small blind folds, big blind calls, and we're in the big blind, and we checked, the original raiser and the cutoff checked, and the button then bet, we've got the original raiser behind us who can still have, you know, it's uncapped and can still have really strong hands. What we've got to think, you know, there is this sort of general conception, but it was a misconception that you can never raise in that spot. But if you have a lot of really strong hands, a lot of nutted hands, you do get to raise. It's on those boards where the original raiser is always going to have stronger hands than you, like on an ace, king, queen board, you would just never have any raising in that spot. So yeah, I think this is, you know, this time it's slightly different because the big blind isn't the one with the strongest range, and not supposed to, well, it's supposed to check quite frequently, but having seen this now, it's not on this particular board. So we face a bet, and I think the easy continues are going to be pairs and draws. I think the more challenging continues are going to be those with, say, 2 overs and a backdoor flush draw. So like even king jack of hearts isn't folding here. King 9 with a backdoor flush draw, king 8 with a backdoor flush draw, queen jack with a backdoor flush draw. Even queen jack of hearts continues sometimes here. Queen jack off, but most of the time they're going to fold. Ace 9 off going to continue all the time. And then we are going to see some raising with some 7x, ace 7, and 7-8, and king 7. They're the best 7x, or the only 7x we have, because 7-6 is 2 pair. 6-5 going to do some raising as well. Let's just have a quick look. So when we do raise here, big blind continues with all 7x, but folds 6x. So when we raise 6-5, we're getting better 6x to fold. When they fold, the button, do they fold 6x? No, they're always going to continue with 6x. All right, well, interesting. Interesting for sure. Let's go back to here, have another look at what we're supposed to do. So Jack 8, one of you said earlier on, Jack 8 is loving life on all boards, not loving life on this board. So is going to be doing quite a lot of folding this time. Let's dive in. Let's see, see what happens. I think we're going to make mistakes. Okay, like this one. So I knew we wanted to continue, but it was actually only continuing 34%, and we're folding quite a lot. I think it was ace 9 where we start continuing. Jack 8 wasn't really loving life here. Looks like all options available, but mainly fold. Always want to continue. 2 overs and a backdoor flush draw, backdoor straight draw. Don't want to continue here or this one. I think this was a fold. Okay, some continues here with, again, 3 to a straight, 3 to a flush. Always want to continue here. Looks like we're raising a tiny bit. King 10, folding ace 5. Always continuing ace 9 off. I don't know what the other bit was though. Okay, it was a tiny bit raising. Queen Jack off was actually continuing sometimes, right? Yeah, 21.7%. Ace-7 was doing raising and jamming, I want to say. Yep. King-6 continuing, maybe a bit of raising. King-10 off's going to fold. We're going to fold Ace-5 off. I don't think we want to fold this one. Sorry. I'm not sure though. What was the hand we had before? Queen-9 of diamonds folded more than it raised, right? I'm not sure about King-9. Okay, that actually wants to raise more. 10-8. We don't have a backdoor flush draw, but we do have a gut shot. So I don't think we'd want to fold here. I'm going to fold this one. 5 more to do. I'm going to fold. This one calls sometimes. This one's going to fold. Couple more. And going to continue. Jam. Okay, cool. So I think that, again, that was pretty straightforward. Let's try a different action this time, where big blind bets and button folds. So pretty similar, and yet we just get to continue with more hands now. So King Jack's always going to continue. I think I was continuing before as well. But we're closing the action now, which is quite important. And now Jack 8 with the backdoor flush draw wants to continue. So basically we continue with any piece. And if we have 2 overs and a backdoor flush draw, we're going to continue as well. And 10-8 and Ace-7 want to jam. Okay, let's see how we do. King-10, was that the one? Yeah, pure call now, which is different. 9-8 raised and... Ooh, what's happened here? I'm sure there was jamming. Oh, it's 10-8. Okay, fair enough. 9-8, so 10-8, just 2 overs and a gut shot rather than 2 overs and an 8 out straight draw. So 10-8 was the one that was jamming. 2 overs and a backdoor flush draw. Don't want to fold. A little bit of calling here. Don't want to fold this one. King-10 was continuing. Was it this one? Raise and jam. And then a tiny bit of calling as well. Don't want to fold. Don't know what we do. Raise. Okay, fair enough. So Ace-8's the threshold for wanting to continue. We have 2 overs and a backdoor flush draw. Ooh. Okay, let's home in and have a quick look at King-8 because we missed that one. I mean, not surprisingly, you can hardly see the bit of jamming that's in there. But King-8's always going to fold. We know that we continue with 2 overs and a backdoor flush draw and a backdoor straight draw, but we actually do some jamming with these hands too. Let's see why. Do we get some better hands to fold? So some 6x is going to fold, some 2x is going to fold. We deny equity to some draws. We're getting better hands to fold as well, though they're not in there that frequently. Okay, so yeah, we've seen some boards where we're really quite far ahead. We've seen, I say quite far ahead. We're splitting it 3 ways, right? So we're never going to be like miles ahead. Not like in position against big blind on an amazing board for the in position player that might be 65 or 70% in their favor. But then we've seen this board where we just demonstrated that we actually have an equity disadvantage. Let's try a similarly low board. Let's try and do a low connected board this time. Trying to think where big blind just has loads of straights. So maybe on this one. Just going to check. I just want to see the big blinds. Yeah, missing 10-9 suited, but it has 10-9, has all the 5-4s, has loads of 2-pair. Yeah, okay. Let's try this one. Remember what it is? 8 of spades, 7 of diamonds. And let's see how we do. Okay, well, I mean, this is the most even that we've seen. Buttons ahead, then it's us, then it's the big blind. Certainly the button's going to have some 10-9s. Also has 5-4 suited, I guess. 5-4. Yeah, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So, but pretty close. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here. Let's have a look. Yeah, so not, without a sort of like significant advantage over anybody, we start to see a lot of checking. Sometimes it could be that the small blind and the button are so far ahead of the big blind that the small blind gets to bet, but here you can see that's not the case. But going back to Yanis's question earlier, is there overjam from small blind on any board? Well, yes, there is. We can see ace-8 without the backdoor flush draw, so clubs and hearts. Presume ace-8 off as well does some. And we've got 10-8, 9-8 as well. And in fact, if we do this, much easier to see. Some 9x in there too with a spade. Yeah, so this is where we're thinking about finding those hands this time. Let's go for a check. We know the big blind check. We just looked at it, and there's more small betting than big betting. So let's see what we're supposed to do versus small bet. Also, just when it's a higher frequency check for us, it's more likely that we're going to play spots where we face a bet rather than us betting in the first place, right? Because we have more hands that we check in the first place. So here we're going to continue again with straight draws with a pair. Looks like it was 8-7-6, right? So king 7 needs to have flush draw, backdoor flush draw to continue. Some king 10 off there, so 2 overs, a gut shot, and a backdoor flush draw. So just looking for that extra equity. Same with queen 10 off. We see some folds now with ace-7 without a spade and ace-5 without a spade. All of these are going to continue. 8-7 is going to jam, 9-8 is going to jam, and ace-8 is going to jam. Okay, well, so let's dive in and let's see how we get on. I feel like ace-7 started to fold. Yeah, pure fold. King 6, I'm going to fold as well. Ace-9, we're going to continue. We're going to continue. King 8. King 10 off with no spade, I think, was just a fold. We want to continue this. Queen Jack off with a spade, I'm going to fold. Yeah, okay. Gut shot here, but without a spade. I honestly don't know. I think I could get this one wrong. Okay, well, it's a mix. Fair enough. Definitely want to continue with this hand. And this one, so 2 overs, a gut shot, and a spade. We get to continue. Maybe do some raising as well. No, it's okay. So the other bit's a fold. We continue again with a straight draw and a backdoor flush draw. This one's going to fold. 9x is going to continue. I think we get to continue this one. We're folding this one. 9x continues. And keep going. 8x. Yep, going to continue. 8x again, going to continue. Ace-5. Can't remember. Mix? Okay, no. Well, kind of. 3.5, but mainly just a fold. Gut shot with a backdoor flush draw as well. We're going to continue. We're going to fold this one. Let's do one more. Pair and a backdoor flush draw. I don't want to fold. Okay, cool. So you get the idea, guys. You study the spot, then you train the spot. You see what mistakes you make, and learn from that. So I'm happy to have gone through, low unconnected, low connected. Let's now take a look at, we've got 2 more boards that we definitely want to do. And if we get time, we've got some others. But I think a paired board would be quite useful here. Let's first take a board where, I'm trying to think where we could actually have some decent number of trips. Let's just consult the ranges. 1 second. So 9x maybe could be an interesting one, although it's only the suited 9s that we have. We could maybe look at 10 jack queen as well, but might not have too much bearing, given that both the big blind and the button can have lots of king x hands too. Let's try this king 4 board. Okay, no leading, but I want to see how we continue. So all right. So the last time we saw equities like this where we were slightly below the button, we still got to do some leading, but here we're clearly not. Now, this is what I kind of alluded to earlier on. When I'm talking about, it's not just about equity, right? It's about, number of nut combos in your range compared to your opponents, and also being able to realize that equity. If we don't have enough hands to be able to continue here, given the king and the four are quite disconnected, and then only really spades can continue, maybe some diamonds, then we might find that we need to play check more frequently. One thing you can do on Equilab is to look at, say, nuts as a proportion of your range. So the button has, you can see down here, 13% of their range is trips or better. Let's have a look at ours. 15%, so decent advantage in that regard, and 10% for the big blind. Now this is, just as an aside, this is where it's really important to understand that the big blind just has so many more hands. I think there's a misconception sometimes that oh, this is a board that's better for the big blind. It's very rare for a board to be better for the big blind, right? Certainly in heads up pots, but we've not really seen it too much either in multi-way spots. I think what people mean is that it's a better board than, say, like an Ace-King-Queen board. Some of these boards, like a 7-6-Deuce we saw earlier on, or a low connected board. It's very rare for it to actually be better for the big blind. So yeah, I hear it a lot when players say, "Oh, we should check here because it's the board that's better for the big blind," but that's just very rarely the case. They may have, let's just say it was like a button versus big blind on a Queen 7-7 board. Big blind's got a lot of 7x. Yes, the button does do a decent amount of checking, but it's not better for the big blind. They might have a higher proportion of really strong hands, but in terms of equity, button can still be ahead. So it's that's just something, just an aside, just to think about. In this example, then very close together, but we're not, and we actually do have the nut advantage, and yet I guess our opponent just has when they do have a king, they tend to be better, although that's tough to say because they can still have King Deuce, King 3, and King 5. So interesting one. I'm not 100% sure. If you guys want to share some ideas as to why that might be the case here, then absolutely go for it. Big blind's also going to check, and then button bets very frequently. So let's see how we are supposed to respond. Let's just flick to relatives, make it easier to see. So do some raising with our King X, a bit of raising with 4x, but not too much. 6-5 of hearts and 6-5 of clubs. Those are going to be potential, continues that you weren't thinking about. Same with 7-6 is a bit easier because the clubs and hearts fold. As do same with 8-7 and 9-8. Okay, these offsuit ace-x hands are going to continue with a spade. Ace-9 always continues. Remember, the button's range is pretty wide to begin with, around 50-ish%, and then they're betting very frequently on the flop, so ace-9 off is still going to be pretty good. And again, these hands are going to continue with one spade. See some raising with Queen Jack of spades. See some raising with some King X. Ace-8 of spades and diamonds is going to continue through a call. And that's about it. So I think the potential mistakes here is going to be, where do we find the continues with backdoor flush draws? So like 10-8 of diamonds, for example. You see 9-8 of diamonds just wants to fold. Jack-8 of diamonds folds most of the time. Queen-8 of diamonds folds all the time. So I think that's where we're potentially going to find some issues. But we'll explore it now and see. So Queen 10 off with a spade continues, but I don't know what the other, maybe a bit of raising. Okay. Calling and some raising. Call and raise. Call and raise. Ace-8 call. Queen 9 is going to be a fold. Jack 10 fold. King 10 call and raise. Calling with the spades. Maybe a bit of raising as well. Call and raise. I'm going to... Ace-9 was the hand, right? So we want Ace-8 with a spade. 7-6 of clubs. Was this one of those that continued at some frequency? It was absolutely not. What was it? 6-5? Okay, yeah. So this is where, I think it can get tricky, because it doesn't feel natural to continue with 6-5 of clubs and 6-5 of hearts. And that's the last one, right? Because 7-6 of clubs just wants to pure fold. Let's fold here. call and raise, fold. Ah, something else going on here. 7-6 of diamonds. I mean, let's explore this again because we're clearly making mistakes. So 7-6 of clubs and hearts is going to fold. 7-6 of diamonds, backdoor straight draw, backdoor flush draw, wants to continue. Same with 8-7. 6-5 continues regardless of the suits. 9-8 of diamonds wants to fold. So what did we just make a mistake with? 7-6, I think we made a mistake. And then 9-8 just wants to fold. Okay. Well, we'll see how we do. We'll do a few more. Hoping to get one of those other ones. J Stock says 6-5 just wraps around the 4, feels intuitive to continue more than with 7-6. Yeah, I think that's a nice way of looking at it. Call and raise, continue. I'm gonna fold. I think we continue with a spade. Yeah, nice. Call and raise. Let's do a couple more. Call and raise. Oh, what else is going on then? No, can't be jamming. Fold. Okay, fair enough. Let's just do one more, and then I want to take a look at Jack 10. Queen 9, if Queen 9, Queen 10 off was going to continue, calling and raising. Okay. So you've seen there that it's just like, it highlights the areas that you're perhaps, or certainly I am unfamiliar with. So Queen 9 of diamonds calling and raising, not folding. What was some of the others? Jack 10 off. The 10 of spades actually does some folding, but the Jack of spades wants to continue all the time. Okay, that's cool. All right, let's jump to Monotone because we've done quite a few of the other ones. I'll throw it over to you guys. The first person that comments to which board they want to look at, we will look at. Go. Okay, 10-9-6. Here we go. Well done. J Stock. All right. Let's go to our trusty Equilab, and you can see small blinds slightly ahead here. I mean, you already got the spoiler that there was some leading, but small blind slightly ahead, then button, and then big blind. So let's go in and have a look. It's actually going to look like this. So Queen 8, how often do we have Queen 8? Not that often. So not that useful. Jack 8 though, doing some betting. No, Yannis said earlier, Jack 8 just loves it. 10-8 doing some betting. 9-8. 8-7 is a straight. We have a straight flush in here as well, which is nice. Some 7-6 doing some betting. 6-5, 5-4 just wants to check. Some 9x going for a bet. Some 8x with a heart going for a bet. 7x with a heart going for a bet. 5x, ace-5 with a heart going for a bet. 2 overs and a gut shot. Fair enough. Okay, we might just have to give this a go and see how we do. What I would like to know though is how the big blind responds to this. So they're going to fold some. So yeah, like king queen off without a heart. Yeah, king queen off. You can see it down in this bottom right hand corner. King jack off without a heart sometimes folds. We've got some queen x hands. So yeah, definitely generating some folds from better hands when we do bet. And the same thing going on with the button, actually getting them to fold. Yeah, really strong hands with no heart and no draw. So that's pretty. It's pretty cool to see. Let's go back in and have a look at our strategy again. I mean, if we can default to check, that would be quite useful. Because I think a lot of these, it's very easy to do it because they're just going to be mixes. Remember A7, I think, was when we had a heart, we could start leading. King 10 is going for a bet. This is going to mix. This is going to mix. Jack 8 mixes. This is going to mix as well. Ace 9 off. I think we saw some betting. Yeah, but still going for a mix very often. Checking this hand. King 10 going for a bet. Queen 10. So a lot of these are just mixing a lot. I think this was very high frequency to check. No, it wasn't. 7-6 of spades. I guess we have a pair and a gut shot. Mixing, check and bet. I think we see some bets here. Yeah. Same thing going on here. Same thing going on here. So yeah, a decent amount of betting. Let's do 3 more. Mixing here, and very high frequency check. Okay, let's see now what happens when we, in fact, let's just go back. Big blind, get pure check. I think that makes sense. I mean, if you look at, obviously this isn't, this strategy is based on us checking, right? So this, what I'm about to show you, is not spot on because this is our pre-flop range, not the range that we have to check. Whereas the buttons will be spot on because they still have all of those hands. But you can see, yeah, big blind is just significantly behind in this spot. You know, they can still have some really strong hands, but overall their equity is pretty poor on this board. Okay, mainly small bet then, when the button does bet, and they do bet very, very frequently. Let's see how we are supposed to respond. And we do get to do some jamming. So it looks like a straight, not a straight flush, gets to jam. Jack 10 off with a heart. Queen, so top pair with a heart, continuing quite frequently with a jam. Ace 7 off, so a gut shot and a flush draw gets to jam a lot. And all of the hands we just, you know, continue where we're supposed to continue. So let's just see how we do. So I think this is a hand we can play aggressively. I'm going to fold King 6. I wasn't entirely sure, but not closing the action. I think we can let it go. Can we jam this one? Yep, cool. Same again. Going to continue pair and a draw. Continuing here. Okay, interestingly, that's just a call, whereas with the Queen of Hearts, was it jamming? Let's have a look. That's the wrong hand. Queen Jack off with the Queen of Hearts. Yeah, so we need the Queen of Hearts in order to jam in that spot, potentially blocking some made hands and some hands that will really find it easier to continue. This one's going to fold without the hearts. I'm going to fold here as well. Okay, cool. King 9 of diamonds, I'm not sure. I think I might get this one wrong, but yeah, okay. I thought I might. Let's have a look. King 9 just always going to continue, just good enough to continue, but you can see Queen 9 does start to fold, so it's not too crazy. Queen 9 starts to fold, yeah, so it'll be a mix between call and fold. Same again. 7-6, going to continue. King 8, I'm going to fold. Going to fold this one as well. Call here. Let's do 3 more. Fold. And last one. This one starts to fold sometimes, but also calls. All right. So we have done today a mixture of different boards, and we've explored certainly the equities on those boards. Just want to reiterate, it's not everything we're looking for, but it's a pretty big thing, and it's a good kicking off point to be able to look. And something you can do if you've got Power Equilab or anything else like this is you can just run some various boards, right? So you can see, okay, so there might be some leading here, but certainly won't be as much as other boards. Here you can see there's probably going to be some leading on this board. Go again, very even, maybe some leading. That's whoops. Now we're out ahead. Probably going to see some leading here. One thing I will say is, if all of these strategies are really new to you, how much work are you doing small blind versus button? Because I think generally, my sort of general perception of most players in this situation who haven't studied the spot would have defaulted to lots of checks. So certainly on the boards where you get into this habit of understanding that, well, this board is great for the button. So I don't think we get to do any leading here, like on that Ace King Queen board. If it was big blind versus button, really, really true. But when there's a small blind involved as well, where your equity is actually pretty reasonable, you do start to have some bets. So yeah, we looked at the ABB board, the ABX board, which is Ace-King-Deuce. We looked at Ace-Six-Deuce, Queen Jack 10, which I think was a really interesting one, given that only the button can have Ace King. And then what else did we do? We did some low connected and low unconnected paired board and a monotone board. I'm going to wrap things up there, guys. If you've got any questions, put them into the chat right now. Yanis says, amazing learning today. Appreciate that. Thanks for being here, Yanis. Yeah, give me your thoughts on questions and anything that you want to say. That's fine. And I will, happy to answer them. All right, so let's wrap things up there. Thanks for tuning in, guys. If you have any questions, if this, maybe you're watching the replay on YouTube, then drop a comment down below, and I'll be sure to answer that. And yeah, I will catch you next time. Cheers, guys. Take care. See you soon. Bye-bye.